Welcome to Conversation 473. A lot of things happening in Grenada over the last few days. One of the topics we're going to focus on tonight is the proposed merger and liberalization of the cocoa and nutmeg industry. That's a big topic. We're also going to talk a little bit about developments in the Fort Judy incident, as it's being called, a Grenadian being assaulted, and the police now charging two Irish citizens with causing harm against the gentleman. Well, the police had a news conference in which Commissioner of Police Edwin Martin sought to quell the anger of the public in presenting information on what the police was doing and the handling of it. There was some concern about whether or not there was favoritism in the way the police handled the matter. So we'll touch just briefly on that. But our major topic tonight is what's going on with the Grenada Cocoa Association and the Grenada Nutmeg Association, the commodity boards which manage two of our most critical industries in the country, two of our biggest export crops that has kept the Grenada economy going for a very, very long time, over 70 years. This is Conversation 473. Kitaka is here. Rolanda is here. We had hoped to have a on to talk, to help us in the conversation regarding the commodity boards issue, but unfortunately that did not happen. So we're just, going to look at the issues that have developed. The government creating a draft bill to take to Parliament in order to change the regulations and the ordinances which govern both industries, both sectors, the cocoa and nutmeg sectors. To change that, any changes to be made must be done under law, since those both are governed by acts of Parliament. And the NDC has been weighing in on this. They too have some concerns about the handling of it, the timing of government moving now to do this. And we'll talk about all of the moving parts in this situation as we go on. Kitaka, Rolanda, how was your weekend?
Very well. I was on the party on the beach. No, I'm just joking. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I wasn't. Is it 69? Or what is the restaurant called? I usually down there drinking.
61 degrees west. Well, I hear that 61 degrees west is breaking curfew regulations and opening beyond the time stipulated in the regulations, the emergency powers regulations. I'm yet to confirm that, but my good friend Nicholas Steele being associated yet again with some uncomfortable and difficult news in the country. I certainly hope that it's not true that 61 degrees west is being responsible in following the laws of the land, because no one is above the law. So you were not partying at 61 degrees west like Kitaka, who was down there. Kitaka, what time did the restaurant close when you were there? Were you there after
Well,
9 p.m.?
No. Hey. They trying to put me in cold belly cross if a police come for me again. I really in that.
I
I was
started
not.
there.
I left before 7, but I saw somebody push up a video and a guy was talking about it being open after hours. But also I saw, well, when I was there were people there. I didn't see much social distancing, um, and the place was packed. Um, Also for me, I think maybe that's why the curfew get pushed to 11 o'clock.
You know, you make a valid point there. You make a valid point there for, because pushing the coffee to 11 o'clock for me it doesn't seem to help with the prevention of the virus. It seems to encourage the virus, that people have a few more hours to go and hug up with other people who they're not supposed to be hugging up with, who might have the virus, or to lime extra hours. I was surprised that they pushed it to 11 o'clock. I see no value in that. What we need are our industries and our productive sectors to be um, to be operational again. Not entertainment is not exactly the high point of our economic development, really. And, you know, telling people they can stay out later just seems like a ridiculous proposal. Yeah.
No, well, for me, I wish I could be out there. I like to make my work. But for me, the point that Ms. McQueen made about the 61 West issue, for me, I would not like that to be the case of having a place open after protocol. I don't care who you is, you cannot be doing things above the law. So if that was the case, then that has to be, you know, cracked down on, because other businesses has to close promptly at 7 o'clock. So we need to have fairness in that regard.
And let me the regulation which said that restaurants take out only, has that changed? Was there an announcement that restaurants now have sit-in service?
Well, I'm not sure, but most restaurants now have sit-in service. I think that was revised. There was a lot of revisions. We could go back to
the revised.
Yeah, with social distancing and certain protocols, most places now would scan your face, and you'd also take your name so they can contact trace your lanes. You take a picture of a barcode, you put in your name, how much people. So if anything, they could always trace all who came to the building at any point in time. So a lot of establishments are developing their protocols. So, but there is in business dining now.
So since we're talking about 61 Degrees West, which is a restaurant owned by Health Minister Nicholas Steele, what sort of protocols did you observe while you were there as a guest?
Okay, so when I went there, customary, every place you go, there's a spray, the spray to spray with your sanitization. There is a temperature gauge device that is pointed at your forehead to record your temperature, and they took your name down and placed it on the database. I wasn't underneath the place, I was on the beach end, so I wasn't like interacting with individuals, but there were people sitting on tables and so on. So there was more than
all the tables were filled up. It was like a full house.
Let's say about 70% capacity inside, yeah.
Well, given the size of the restaurant, a 70% capacity does not leave much room for social distancing, which is even more critical than opening an hour or two after curfew.
So it's interesting. So for me, I mean, I would say to the health minister to set a precedence and to lead by example and have his place supposed to be a model of COVID-19 protocols and so on. So if there's any room for cleaning up, he needs to get on the ball immediately and not break any of the laws.
Well, let's hope let's hope he's still looking out, paying attention to what's posted on my page. I'll send him a message after we get off the show. So Ms. McQueen, you want to weigh in on the lack of social distancing at 61 Degrees West, or are we moving on?
I think the lack of social distancing I see more is on the Carenage, where you have people selling the fish, and people coming out from all over Grenada. And I have not seen anyone around there saying to people speaking about social distances. And we are in between the two police stations, CID and Central. And I think now people are so fed up that they don't even bother, people not even bothering wearing the mask. The feeling I get, because I look and the fish market is closed, and they bring the fish market now on the Carenage, because that's where you find everybody gathering, sitting down, drinking. You would never believe that we are under a curfew, but I think it's because people just cannot be bothered. People are just so fed up with it. But I hope, at 61, is it West? I think that's the only place I can go and get champagne. It's good to know.
Well, I say that to Kalishtra, I also was up at Batway on Sunday. And to be honest with you, Kalishtra, for the most part, I find people right now just studying about social distancing. I was up by Batway on Sunday, and it's Batway is where the vibes is right now. You understand? Yeah, now we can, I guess we're COVID free, so we have to beat up right now. That is the vibes. Unless people come in the country.
Well, we can never be too sure, and practice makes perfect, where the government is about to open the country to chartered flights, as the Prime Minister said in his address, but eventually to commercial flights. And practice makes perfect. If we fall back into a comfort zone, then it's going to be harder for us to do the right thing when our danger level increases again. Because once you begin to have people coming in, our risk is going to increase. Doesn't matter how much protocols the government has in place, the risk will increase by a large percentage. We had people who came
True,
into
true.
the country with the virus, and the Ministry of Health did not even know that they had the virus until they themselves walked in and said, "Can we please be tested?" And that was weeks afterwards. So there is no foolproof system. And what I've
Okay.
noticed that people, I don't know what, maybe people are getting fed up wearing that mask all the time. It is very uncomfortable. Always remembering to sanitize, to wash your hands, what you touch, and so on. It's a lot of work. And what I've noticed is that people are hardly wearing their masks anymore, and the police, and they're not enforcing it. I was in the city about 2 weeks ago, and one of the things I saw was that the police is now giving people permission to use loudspeakers in town. Now, the man with the loudspeaker is not wearing a mask. And when you're expressing yourself and you're speaking so loudly and so on a microphone, saliva will fly and that kind of thing. And people are going back and forth next to you and not wearing their masks. So this is a danger that the police themselves have created there. I saw two police officers in front of the bank on the Esplanade, and I approached them to ask them whether or not the protocols for wearing masks had changed, because so many people were walking around without them. I mean, not even just wearing them around their necks and like a lot of people are doing, but just none at all in sight, probably in their bag or not at all. And of course, they got very upset with me because I dared to ask a question as a citizen of the country, and the female police officer was extremely rude. The male one was not so out of place as she was, but they felt that I should not ask about it, and it turned out that they said that if you're walking around, you don't have to wear your mask. Masks are only for entering into buildings. Now, when I look at the protocols that were sent, protocols were sent this evening, new protocols, because of the extension in the time when there isn't a restriction to freedom of movement. One of the things that's still in there is that you must wear your masks at all times when you're outdoors. But the police seem to have different instructions that you don't have to wear it all the time. And in fact, it's only indoors that you have to wear it. This is what they're saying, while allowing people to use loudspeakers and PA systems in the town where people are walking back and forth. So, the situation continues to be messy, and even months later we're still not getting little things right from the top. And those are like, they seem like small things, but they can be disastrous, because one person with COVID-19 could really that we're not aware of could really mess things up for us, and interfere with this COVID-19 free status that the Prime Minister was boasting about in his address the other night. So people really just need to continue to practice the protocols, the wearing of the mask. People on the buses, I got on a bus and there were 9 people and 7 of them were not wearing masks. I was the only person and one other who was wearing a mask, and no one else was wearing, including the driver and the conductor. They were not wearing. Buses are supposed to sanitize after every trip. A lot of them are not sanitizing after every trip. They're simply doing it morning and evening. So a lot of loopholes in the safety measures, because with all this talk about us being COVID-19 free, people are getting comfortable. But we are only going to be COVID-19 free until the government opens up the country again, which is beginning to happen in the next few days. We're going to have a lot of issues on our hands with that.
Well, one of the things that I see, I have one lady, there's one lady I know that lives in St. David's, and she goes around to all the different offices, and selling her little thing to make her money. And I said to her, I was having a discussion with someone, and I said, people like these are the type of people they should be testing. Because just imagine this woman has COVID, the amount of shops and offices and banks and government buildings that she goes through. She could, if she had the virus, can I tell you something? She could infect Grenada in less than an hour. And it would be nice if maybe the government could offer free testing to people like that. There's lots of people are going around selling nuts, selling pastries, and I would have think it would have been a good idea. But as I say, I don't know if you guys have seen it. It seems like people are so tired. People need money, and it's like, come what may.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
also, I mean,
well, well, well.
even for me personally, even for me personally, like, I just get significant problems with the mask in terms of breathing as well. I think the law says when you're in confined spaces, when you enter buildings and so on. But if you find yourself running alone, you can be without your mask. But I think right now it's very difficult also for the police to enforce that law, because I have seen that a lot of the police are very tired right now. Because from since March, having to be out in the hot sun, blocking to do them the border checks, to get people to put them inside. Even the same at the night time, at the borders, even now with masks and buses and making sure buses have enough people. A lot of the police are very tired as well too. I even see some police with their mask underneath their face. So it's like you just have it on just in case. So I guess they also set the precedence as well. Even on a higher level, Donald Trump doesn't wear masks. So even on a higher level, there's a serious divide, and even the healthiness of the mask as well, for like the breathing of the carbon dioxide and so on. But I do agree, Kalistra, that in the country now, we cannot get complacent because we have quote unquote COVID-19 free status. And as we open up our country, there is anything can happen. Although I think that there should be protocols outside of Grenada where anyone who enters a plane to come into the Caribbean or wherever supposed to have a documented negative test at least some period prior to coming into the plane. I mean, I've seen some countries are implementing that. So I
Well,
mean,
I
I
think
guess.
we also, Kitaka, we also have that. We also have that's part of our protocols. One, we're only accepting charter flights right now. So when the airport opens, it would just be to chartered flights. Apparently, the commercial airlines have not agreed to subject their passengers to a test before they get on the plane. So only persons who are tested before getting on the plane prior to departure for Grenada, who are tested then and then tested here in Grenada, and also agreeing to enter quarantine for 14 days. Although somebody said to me that it's been reduced to 10 days, they only stayed in quarantine for 10 days. One of the cruise ship workers who came back about 2 weeks ago. So,
But
and
question.
quarantine at your own expense, test at your departure and test at your arrival. That's our
But,
protocol.
but question. Like, if someone comes with a negative test, like, is it necessary for us to go through that route of having to quarantine them again and then negative? What is it, the threat of them being asymptomatic or so?
Yes,
What's the threat?
because it could be that at the time that you are tested, the antibodies are not yet forming in your system. Because remember, it would be rapid testing that they would do, not the laboratory tests, right? Obviously, if you have a laboratory test certificate of a particular date, then I suppose that would be valid. I don't know. I'm just saying. But what they're doing is a rapid testing, and the rapid testing looks for the antibodies in your system that shows that your body has reacted to coming in contact with the COVID virus. And so if the antibodies are not yet present, I mean, you can come into contact you can become infected like half an hour before you get the test, and you do the rapid test that it doesn't show up, and you come to Grenada, and then they said, okay, fine, your rapid test showed that you had no antibodies, so you're safe, and you're not. So testing at both ends, it has to do with the timing, the timeline of when what happens when that we needed. I was pleasantly surprised that we are adopting that sort of protocol. It provides some level of comfort, not a lot, but some level of comfort that at least we won't be overrun by COVID-19 as we move hastily to try to save our economy, which depends only on people coming here to feed our people.
Yeah. But for me, we started that on COVID, and 61 West lead us
On
to go down that
COVID.
road.
Right. So we're going to use the next 40 minutes of the program to talk about what's going on with the Grenada Cocoa Association and the Grenada Nutmeg Association. And as I said at the front of the program, government is intending to merge the association, the commodity boards, and to liberalize the market. That is, to open it up. At the moment, only the association can export our nutmegs and the produce. But now what government is proposing is that anybody can do so. The merger of the commodity boards is not a new idea. This is something that has been discussed for maybe a good 20 years, I mean, or maybe a little less or so. But for most of the time that I have been a journalist, the issue of merging the two associations so that they can benefit from economies of scale, share costs, share marketing opportunities, share marketing strategies, share staff and all of that kind of thing, designed to streamline how they operate and to bring greater benefits to the farmers. Because, of course, the restructuring of the nutmeg and the cocoa industry is needed, outside of the problems that the government is probably trying to put us in by doing it now. They had their own share of problems, boards that were not necessarily acting in the best interest of the individual farmers on the ground and that kind of thing. But now the government is has actually drafted a bill to take to parliament. So, it's entered an area of seriousness. They are determined to do it and most likely will do it. There is nothing really to stop them. It's, what happens when only one person controls the parliament and the legislature in the country. So they're merging and they're liberalizing. But whether or not this is going to benefit the farmers is what is being questioned by a lot of people, including the National Democratic Congress. They issued a statement on it. They actually called the government's move to merge and liberalize a sham. Whether or not it is still unclear. The draft bill and what it says. One of the things the Prime Minister mentioned in his address is that the cocoa farmers and the nut farmers don't own shares in the associations. What they get are bonuses at the end of the year. They're supposed to get bonuses, and over the last few years, a lot of the times they were not able to get bonus from the associations. For one reason or the other, there was no money to pay them a bonus. Long ago, as we say, long ago, the nutmeg bonus used to be a big thing that everybody looked forward to at Christmas time. And, in the last 10, 12 years or so, a lot of times the bonus did not come. I think government even bailed out for bonus, which was like a sad time in the proud history of the nutmeg industry. So what we're looking at now is whether or not what the government is proposing and the way they are proposing it is actually going to benefit the individual nutmeg farmers. The government is pushing the idea that now that the nutmeg farmers and the cocoa farmers will be able to sell on their own, that they will do better. But will they really do better? I mean, a small nutmeg farmer or even a medium size or even a large one, do they have the know-how to sell their commodity on the international market? Or are we going to be seeing people like the Russians and others, including the Prime Minister's son, apparently, I discovered recently, buying the nutmeg the nutmeg and the cocoa at next to nothing from them here, and then selling it for, as we say, a pound and a crown on the international market? Will this open the door for further exploitation of the farmers? Another area of concern for me is that the government rushing to do this now. Are they doing it now when the farmers are tired, hungry, really worried about what's going to happen? Farmers have had a real hard time over the last few months with the COVID. Are they doing it now when the farmers are under so much pressure that they can actually get away with, that people are not paying attention as much as they're supposed to be, because there's so many other issues that, the everyday bread and butter issue and the struggles. People are preoccupied with this. So is the government trying to push this under the radar when people are not in a position to fight back, as you say? that they're pushing it. So, they're pushing it really hard now, right in the middle of the COVID crisis, when the merger issue has sat on the shelf for years, that all of a sudden it seems to be a critical issue. And that also is raising a red flag that, what is the government's motive? And as we know, this government does not have a particularly good track record when it comes to seeking the interests of the Grenadian people when foreigners have an interest in something that is ours. Hitaka?
I have a crazy dog barking in the background, Mickey. Do you guys hear it? I think it's quiet now. College time, I've been doing my research. This issue is a very, very sensitive issue. I mean, because I think how it's done, the intention in which it's done, would affect different cross sections of the population in a different kind of way. For me, even like, let's say for instance, you've made an important point that this has been on the table for a very long time. Even I was reading a document where back in 2014, which said that in an IMF document dated 1412, Grenada entered into an agreement with IMF, and Grenada committed to liberalizing certain sectors to boost private sector participation and expand capacity. And for how long we have all heard people speak about the archaic nature of our cocoa and nutmeg industries, and the archaic structure and the lack of transparency and so on within some of the organization, and having the things run properly. So what happened this year is, because of COVID now, some of the associations went to government for a bailout. That's another part of the story, because imagine that they have been buying nutmegs to kind of give farmers an income, but they have not been able to sell for what reason. That's the reports I'm getting. So now it's a situation where you have your house, you have a hole and a leak. Hurricane season come, water start to pour down. Then you realize, oh gosh, I need to change the galvanize. All when dry season going on, you don't want to change the galvanize. So the cocoa and the nutmeg association catch itself in a tight spot right now, and so now, when you're at that tight spot now, you don't have no kind of wiggle room to negotiate. I have my issues with how cocoa and nutmeg have been in the country for a while, because I've seen cocoa and nutmeg send me to school, and I've seen cocoa farmers and nutmeg farmers, even after I've never really catch back themselves, and even now have to put the cocoa and nutmeg on bus to sell when the guys in the association driving pickup. So the thing doesn't want that others be concerned. Even the investments that I made as well. So for me, I think sometimes when I look at it, I'm kind of very worried for my farmers, cocoa and nutmeg farmers, because when I look on the side of the organizations like the GCA, NA, and the GCA, and then you look at government's history in terms of managing things, I wonder where the farmers falling in that, and the small farmer is the one that would always suffer, because if it's liberalized and there's no safety net place for the liquor farmer, what would happen to him? You'd be forced to either not sell his product at all, or sell it at a very small fee, which would not make any sense for him, because now the market can be dominated by the big players. So I think for me is how I think they need to come. We need to come to really assess what has been happening over the last couple of years with the GCA and the GCNA, where they're going wrong, possibly how we could strengthen that so we could at least keep the power within Grenadians. Because for me, the worst thing I would want to hear is that we have some foreign investor coming in to play some crucial role in the managing of our local resources. Or is at a point in time now where it's supposed to be for Grenadians, by Grenadians, and develop sustainably for all of our benefit. So for me, I think it's not black and white. I think it's a lot. Even the issue of a draft document being leaked, it shows as well that what's really going on inside the camp. Why that draft document was leaked? What is happening there? What's going on with the negotiations? Meetings are being rushed. All types of things are happening. So for me, I want more clarity. I want more reason and maturity. Let us see what's really going on and see if we're not rushing the brush, or if we could fix what is happening now, or if we have to scrap the organizations. Because I don't think it's as simple as many of us make it.
I think one of the sad thing is that the people rely on the government to get them the best deal that is going. and when people do not trust them. And one of the things we're looking at is like the soursop. Grenada is the only island that can sell the fruit to America. And when you hear the price of the Grenada soursop sell for in America and the price that people are paid here for it, it is just it is a shame. And as you have both said, I wouldn't like nutmeg does not grow down in St. George's. People that has nutmeg farmers are going in the hills. I remember as a child, you having to go in the hills to get the nutmeg. Most people haven't got, as you say, pick up to bring it down. So it's really hard work, and I wouldn't like to see these farmers and them come in and having to sell their nutmeg for greedy people that is coming in on the island and trying to buy the nutmeg from them for little or no price, like they are doing with the soursop, and taking it abroad and selling it for very big money. Because what is going to happen? It wouldn't be the government will have people that they will be telling you to sell these the products, the nutmegs too. You know how many people here that would know how to go out and sell their nutmeg and to so it's I just think it is really sad to put that type of pressure on farmers where they will be having to look for buyers. We should have one person looking for buyers, getting our what is the MNIB? What are they doing? I thought these are the type of people that are supposed to buy it at good prices and sell it on. I mean, the farmers from my village, where they have nutmeg, where are they going to go and get private people to give them the best price? And it's just going to be people taken advantage of again, like we have with the soursop.
Well, for me also as well too. I mean, I think as well this is also an opportunity for even the farmers to like get innovative as well too, because like if things move in that direction, let's say even now where the cocoa association and so on are able to buy on a consistent basis, what are you going to do with your cocoa? Are you going to have it spoil? Are you going to make chocolate? Are you going to make cocoa balls? Are you going to like what other little things you can do to maybe add some value and create an industry for yourself, or maybe somebody in the community might buy it and create an industry? Because I think we would have to be looking at some of those avenues as well to really deal with the situation. Um, but for me, I think sometimes even in Grenada, like a lot of things happen and then people want the government to really bail them out sometimes. And I think like the Cocoa Association and the Nutmeg Association needs to take some responsibility in this situation as well, because they have been there at the helm representing the farmers. They have not made any moves to bring in a lot of young people into the organization to adopt and to incorporate more technology into what they're doing, into seeking better markets. Because I feel we should be going, since after Ivan, we should be going for more premium markets where we could get the best price and ensure that profits is shared along the board. Not just the guys on top eat everything and the little farmer not get anything, because that is where we create problems. Because when the farmer is working so hard every day and he's selling his cocoa for $3 a pound, his nutmeg for $5 a pound, you understand? And then no back pay coming back, no bonus, no nothing. Most of them sometimes when they go to a meeting, they don't even understand what's going on. And so they're individuals making decisions on their behalf who say they involve in them, but not really involved in them. And I even feel in this issue now, sometimes both sides sometimes use the farmers conveniently, and then no matter which side it goes, some of the farmers still would not benefit. And farmers, now it's time for you guys to educate yourself and see how you could add value to your products. Maybe you have to make nutmeg oil. Maybe you have to make nutmeg powder and say you could add some value or send it there, sell it there, because things are changing. COVID has switched up the game. So we got to do what we got to do. But, farmers have to step up and really see how they could, govern within this time, you know.
Yeah, I think it is easy. It is a lot easier said than done. As I said, we just have to look at the soursop and you will see how people are taken advantage of the cocoa farmers and the nutmeg farmers. I remember my parents that's where they made the money from, is the cocoa and the nutmeg. And it was done in a nice, organized way. We could have dry cocoa and thing on our land. It was, the way it was done, it encouraged people to become cocoa and nutmeg farmers. My dad had the drying trays where it would be dried, it would be picked up. Everything was done on the lake of land that he had. The people that didn't have the drying trays, they will maybe sell it to somebody in the village that would buy it, and it was so much more organized. And I don't think we haven't organized ourselves for that. I think if it was going to happen, the government should have planned. Because if I have, 50 pounds of wet cocoa, what am I going to do with it? I don't understand it. Maybe you could tell me, I have 50 pounds of wet cocoa, Kitaka or Kalisha. What am I doing? How am I going? I can't dry it. I have no way to dry it. And I just need to get it off my hands because I don't want it to start growing in the pod. And somebody come and say, right, I will give you $4 instead of $5. What am I to do?
Well, I mean, the average person is going to sell it. But I think if we go back to it, like that is how them the nutmeg pool and thing was developing,
Yeah.
where it was more cooperative and farmers pool the resources together. Sometimes the farmers might have to say, okay, so not just farmers might say they farm a farmers cooperative, and they have they gather up all the cocoa, so you have like a 20 tons, and they sell it to whoever come at a price that is respectable and worthy, and understanding how the global market looks. Because even me, when I was doing some research this week, I saw even on some retail sites like Amazon, where ounce of nutmeg was selling for like $4 US. When I add it up about how much a pound would cost, and I converted it to EC, a pound of nutmeg would have been about 200 and something dollars. And farmers are being paid $5. So even showing you the flexibility within the market, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So we have to see.
but before we get there, anything you have to send out from Grenada, you have to go to the Bureau of you have to get a barcode. You have to go to the Bureau of Standard. It's a whole long process that you have to go through, even before you can sell something on Amazon. So it's not like
No. I mean, the point I was making is not to sell on Amazon, and about just showing you
yeah. Well, I mean,
the
if
price
we
difference and how the market is on certain levels, where in terms of
if we
same product.
Grenadian, if we have to sell, people from Grenada, they have to look at selling on the internet. That is where they're going to get their buyers from. And to get an international buyer, there is certain standard that you have to meet. I'm thinking as we are speaking, when my parents and them and your parents and them used to get the big cocoa back pay and things like that, this was when England was buying it. The British was England was ruling everything. So for years, my parents and them, they will sell the cocoa, they will look after the cocoa and the nutmeg, and then at the end of the year, they get a big back pay. Now, all of this is stuff. Is it because the people that is in charge just do not know how to do it? They do not know how to run the Cocoa and the Nutmeg Association properly so that people can benefit, that they could make it look attractive? Is it because do we need people to come in all the time and show us how to take care of our business? Because I cannot understand for years we have Grenada is known for its cocoa and its nutmeg. And now 2020, that we are still worrying how our farmers are going to make a decent living from our cocoa and nutmeg. When my parents, 50 something years ago, was cocoa and nutmeg farmers, they buy all their property, they build homes, they educate their children, and they could depend every cocoa and back pay season to get lots of a very big paycheck out of it. And so what have we learned?
Well, I mean, the part of the problem with the industry is that greed was a big problem for the industry. I mean, the board, while the board had farmer representatives on it, the farmer representatives tended to be the bigger players in the industry, right? I remember, getting information about corruption within, particularly the GCNA boards. All kinds of corruption, money is disappearing, people accepting kickbacks from large European buyers, which obviously would affect what the farmers got for their nutmegs out there, and so on. So a lot of mismanagement and corruption, and so have affected what happened to the GCNA in particular. I mean, look at that, that building in the that real estate property in Lagoon. The farmers are not getting a dividend from that piece of real estate. They, at a time when the GCNA spent millions of dollars in the cooperatives' money to put up that infrastructure. Farmers were seeing trouble to get their end of year bonus, which is part of the ordinance. So what, and the prime minister spoke of, when he said, part of the intention, is to better, create a better governance and management structure for the commodity boards, and that is needed. That has always been needed. This is one of the reasons why the merger of the two boards, the two associations, was considered. Studies were done, and it was seriously considered as a solution to deal with a lot of the difficulties that the industry was facing. So there is a problem that needs to be fixed. The people who have managed on behalf of the farmers have not really done a good job. What is concerning, though, is the liberalization of the market. Because even if you merge in order to manage and govern better, putting a minister, giving a minister of government more power over that industry is dangerous. It is absolutely dangerous. All kinds of crazy things are going to happen, and a lot of people are going to be able to take advantage of our nutmeg and cocoa farmers. A lot of people are going to make money. The same thing that's happening now, I suspect it's going to happen even if the change is made, based on what is being proposed in the draft legislation. Yes, farmers are going to be represented on this body. I'm sure they could not possibly propose making those changes without giving farmers a say. And they're going to say farmers are going to have a bigger say. But who is going to choose who sits on this management body that is eventually going to be created once this merger happens and the liberalization takes place? The liberalization of the market is what worries me. I am wondering how many people have already set up their companies, ready and waiting to take the farmers' produce at bargain basement prices and sell them at those kinds of prices that Kitaka was just talking about in the international market, where the farmer will get $3 for his nutmeg while somebody sells a pound of nutmeg out there for $50. That, I have no doubt, is going to happen. That kind of thing has happened before, over and over, constantly, where our people end up getting the shorter end of the stick, presided over by our governments. And for me, the big issue here is trust and confidence. Is a crisis of confidence and a crisis of trust in those who govern. They have not shown very well that they would seek the interests of the people. It is big business. It's the interest of big business, the interest of foreigners. This is what is served. And there's a lot of talk about supporting the small guy and supporting the Grenadian, but it's not demonstrated in the practice of things. And what makes the situation dangerous is who is doing it right now, the timing of doing it right now, and the state of mind that our farmers are in right now when this is happening, when they are probably at their weakest. I mean, Ivan might be the only time when farmers were at their weakest. And now again, with the situation with COVID, where they have not been able to operate at optimum for the longest while, the agriculture industry was already struggling and has now had a tremendous amount of pressure put on it. And so the timing of it is very, very worrying. And which is what makes me believe that something is up, and I don't think at the end of the day, the benefits that the farmers need, as Kitaka said, to have every farmer able to put a pickup truck on the road to take his stuff down from the mountains, to take his stuff, his produce down from the mountain. Is that going to happen? Are they going to make money? I am seeing a situation where the farmers will become even poorer as a result of this. And people with not one stitch of land who's never picked up a nutmeg under a tree are going to become very, very rich from two commodities that have the potential to make millions and millions and millions of dollars, as it has done in the past. So the merger is good, but the liberalization is bad. It's going to open the door for all kinds of people to be able to sell the nutmeg. A lot of people were already attempting to sell nutmeg. And Joel Webb several years ago wanted to export our nutmeg. He ran into problems. He wanted to do the nutmeg oil and so. And I'm thinking all these years, nothing was done in any major way to push the creating value added products. Of course, nutmeg, Dennis Noel did very well with creating the nutmeg. Other people have created products on a small scale. But given the stature of Grenada's nutmeg on the international market, we should have had a wide variety of value added products. Those processing plants that the GCNA was shutting down and renting to people and so on, closed down all of these processing stations over the years and did a lot of crazy things, worst management ever in the history of management. Should have what we should have seen happening were those buildings being converted into processing plants so that we were making things out of our nutmeg and getting an even higher price on the international market. The potential is there for that. And I'm going back again to the idea of, we're talking about all of these citizenship by investment people and so. But the government found somebody to come and plant sugar cane here and put people out in the cane in the hot sun to plant cane without proper bathrooms. But they have not been able to find someone to come here and create an industry that is going to make a value added product out of our nutmeg or our cocoa, which is undisputedly the best in the world. Indonesia is a much bigger producer than us, but we continue to maintain the position of having the best quality. And quality makes a difference in the price that you get. We will always be able to get a decent price for our nutmeg, and demand for our nutmeg is always going to be high. But the value added, the situation where the farmers' nutmeg can be processed here and we ship something else out, no one seems to have put any effort into it. I mean, look at how much effort they're now putting into opening up the market. So every Tom, Dick, and Harry is going to be able to take the farmers' nutmeg and their cocoa and go off to sell it at God knows what kind of prices. But no effort into, people just sat back and watched the GCNA fall apart, which it did. They, watched it fall apart. And when it was falling apart, when it could have been salvaged better, that was the time to move in. Not now when everybody's on their knees. I mean, when you're negotiating with somebody, when the best time to negotiate is when they're on their knees, because they're going to accept whatever comes because they're desperate for a way out. And now that the farmers are desperate for a way out, here comes the government pouncing with all kinds of promises that it's going to be better. The Prime Minister said crisis provides an opportunity to improve. When there's a crisis, it provides opportunities. And so, he recognizes that the farmers are in crisis. But will the opportunity be for the farmers, the people who are actually producing, or will the opportunity be for the people whose interests are being protected by those who are supposed to protect our interests? This is the big question here.
And as you have said, Kalistra, you've made a very good point that we have people coming in, and I think I was told they have over 300 acres of our land for sugarcane. We could have maybe invited some of the people that buy the cocoa and our nutmeg to come in and invest in our farmers, cocoa and nutmeg farmers, where they could have paid them, a healthy back pay for the hard work. Because the people are working on the cane field, all what they get is just a wage. And the people that making the rum, they are the one that is making all the money. So it seems like our own people are putting us back into slavery because, as you said, they could have come in, the same people that is going to be buying the nutmeg and the cocoa, and obviously somebody here is going to get, a few people is going to get very, very rich on the people that is working very, very hard, because doing cocoa and nutmeg is not an easy job. I know lots of people that didn't get an education because they had to go and pick cocoa, all during the year, just to survive. And now we know the state of the economy. Most people have lost their jobs. So people will be going struggling again. And if somebody come along and they have a few cocoa on the tree and somebody offer them whatever money, they will take it. It is things like that makes me very sad.
Well, it is a reality of thing. I mean, as far as I know, some strategic lands were being bought up in very large quantities, and I have to wonder if that was not a prelude to what the government is trying to do now under the guise of the helping the farmers. Recently I found out that the prime minister's son himself was involved in trying to export nutmeg. Apparently, he bought the nutmeg and ran into problems. And there was a bill of some $40,000 to the GCNA or whoever, and so on. So one has to wonder what pie and what fingers we're going to see meshing and mixing up as time goes on. The farmers still own the majority of the nutmeg and cocoa producing lands, and so they must stand firm on this and ensure that what the government does is done in the right way. I would advise the cocoa and nutmeg farmers to get their own advisors and legal counsel. One of the things that the NDC needs to do. I mean, I know that the National Democratic Congress, for better or for worse, they are the other main political party in the country, that they met with the cocoa and nutmeg farmers. So meeting with them is one thing, but what I would certainly advise is that they help them to put a team together that is going to provide some kind of response and pushback on this issue, so that what the government eventually takes to Parliament is not something that is going to empower others to become rich, while this gap that is continuing to widen between Grenadians and foreigners, and those who have and those who don't have in the country, is getting wider and wider, that it does not stretch even more. So certainly that's one of the things that they could probably help them with. I know there are a lot of lawyers within the NDC, and a lot of smart people. Some of them have been around for a while and are fully aware of what's been going on with the industry, that they need to put a team together to seek their own interests and not just sit at the negotiation table with the government by themselves, but to have a proper response to this, and to try to stop it if it's not beneficial to the farmers. Kitaka, you said you looked at the draft legislation. It was leaked. I actually did not see it. Do you remember some of the finer points of it? That
Not off head right now, but I'll have to pull it up. But I mean, shoot our Kalistra, based on what you guys are saying, I mean, I think what has to be emphasized is in all of this, out of all of this, to ensure that our farmers are given just. And I don't think they have been given just, and the things are looking bleak for them, but they have to be given just. And additionally, that our resources and our heart and soul, which is our resources, should not be at the hands of people that are not Grenadians, are not people that understand our context and our reality. people who are driven by their own personal gain and profits on the outside, who is for foreign investors or so on, should not have no power on any committee or any board or anything. These are two are the most critical things that I think we have to get out of all of this. Because we know we have a cancer in terms of the way things have been operating so far, but the solution mustn't be worse than the existing problem, you know. And I really wanted to re-emphasize that, that issue. I mean, I think merging them makes sense, in my opinion. Because let's say, for instance, if you go to Russia or you go in Africa or you go wherever, and you find some people that want cocoa or that want nutmeg, it don't make a sense having two sets of people go in there and try to sell nutmeg and try to sell cocoa. It's like if we selling if we open a market, that market should be good for almost any of our produce, honey, cocoa, nutmeg, sour soap, everything. So, I understand that part, but liberalizing it and opening it up for everybody does sometimes crush the small man. So we have to really put things in place to ensure that
It
the
it
small man
it,
is crushed.
it will end up. What we need is a commodity board that's going to be responsible for marketing and exporting all of our big products. Even the honey, which we have one of the best in the world. Miss McQueen was telling me, I didn't even know that we were able to win gold medals for honey and so on. And the focus really needs to be on developing further what we have here, instead of trying to set things up for people to gain personally from it. Really, I have like a major trust issue on this one, this time. Really, seriously. Um, the government is never that enthusiastic about anything unless there's something in it, for everybody else except the regular Grenadian masses. And before we go, we're almost out of time. But before we go, a little bit, there's been some movement on that incident in Fort Judy. The police were quick to lay charges of harm against the two people who we spoke about this on the program before under the news conference today. Um, Earlier today, Monday, the commissioner of police himself made the announcement that the Sarah Hutton and Donald Kavanagh, I believe it is, from Ireland, were charged with causing harm. And they also considering charging two more people. The witness in this case came forward with more information, that is has put so that the police is now saying that they will consider laying charges against two other people. I believe they're young people, maybe underage, I think, as well. So, the good thing is that somebody was charged. People were charged for this incident. I know there was a bit of a tense situation when the wife of the gentleman complained that the police mentioned that it's a private matter. Whether the police did mention it was a private matter because of where it happened inside of a gated community, or whether or not she misunderstood, or whether or not the police was responding to queries about compensation, which of course is a private matter to be done civilly, outside of a criminal investigation. Whatever it was, it's still not clear. The Commissioner of Police was not able to provide any clarity on that issue. But people were very upset about the suggestion that the police advised that the matter should be handled civilly and privately. No criminal charges have been laid. The two are on $10,000 bail. They were not taken to court. They were charged and bailed at the police station, and some question about whether or not they could be able to flee the country because they travel. It appears their travel documents were not confiscated, as is done so regularly with Grenadians who are charged with crime. So, hopefully they'll be here for I think it's the 30th or sometime in June, the 28th of July or so, that they will make their court appearance. And hopefully they'll still be here at that time. I would strongly suggest that the prosecution makes an application to the court to have the travel documents confiscated for the time being, as is so regularly done against our own Grenadian people who commit are accused of serious crimes, and the holding of the travel documents becomes part of the bail agreement. It really, if you're going to charge a foreigner not holding their passport, really doesn't make a lot of sense, especially when the country is about to open up anyhow and people can leave by boat and all of that. It certainly would not be a safe thing to have them be able to flee the country, because this gentleman certainly deserves his day in court after what happened there. And I think the police, they charged pretty quickly, and I suppose it was as a result of all the public pressure and the public outcry on the situation that they went ahead and charged for causing harm. There are issues of the accused people blocking the road and taking the man's key out of his vehicle, and those are also being considered to see what criminal charges can be laid. But from what Vanny Cowan, who's in charge of the Community Relations Department, said at the news conference, they're still investigating. And so I'm assuming that they rushed. I mean, the incident happened on Thursday. I'm assuming they rushed to charge over the weekend to keep people quiet. But certainly, whether the police charged or not, that incident should certainly, raise the anger of the Grenadian people that something like that can happen here, that people feel that they can get away with something where, they're in the minority, but it's okay for them to behave that way. We go abroad and we walk on eggshells, and, we're all nice and respectful and so on. And, when people come here, they should pay us the same courtesy. If your dog got hit by somebody's car, you call the police. You don't start pounding on them because you live in Fort Judy and you don't look like the person who just hit your dog. You don't do that kind of thing. And I hope that the matter is resolved properly in the courts.
I think we should. I don't like sometimes on the tone that is taken. I think if these people and them, let us give them the time in court. Let justice be served. Let us do. I don't think we should make it a racial issue and it's give it that on the tone. And I think we have laws
I'm
here.
not. I'm not making it a racial issue. And as I said, the police moved to charge quickly. But the fact of the matter is that the incident happened. No information has been put forward that the man did anything else except hit the dog. Whether he was speeding when he hit the dog or not, or whatever it is, the fact is that the dog was hit and violence was used to resolve the issue. And this is what we're talking about now. The police charged, the police arrested them, charged them. They're on $10,000 bail. They are not Grenadians. The right thing to do is to hold their travel documents so that they can be here to attend court and to answer the charges brought against them. Whether they are black or white or whatever, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that they are flight risk because they're not Grenadians, and so they can run away. And I don't know about the racial
I think
undertone. The fact is that they don't look like him, Miss McQueen. Okay, the people who did this are white Irish people. They're not black Irish. They're white Irish, and he's a black Grenadian. There's no racial issue. Nobody's making up a race issue. They're of two different races. No, you cannot conveniently take a position on things like that, Miss McQueen.
I'm not taking
You spend the last 2 weeks lambasting on racial issues, shedding tears about how black people are treated. When it came to that guy from Ghana who violated our border laws and came into the country and then asked for asylum, it was all about the fact that he was black for you. So why is it different now?
No, it's not different. To see a grown man, listen.
No.
Can I finish? Can I finish?
At the end of the day, the police gave this man a medical paper to go to the doctor. The doctor looked at his injuries and said, the injuries on your body are classified under the criminal code, under the law, as causing harm. Witnesses have said that they saw these people doing that. So the police have their medical information and they have eyewitnesses reporting on this. So
All
giving
I
them
am
the day in court.
listen. All I am saying,
They got emotion. They got emotional because their dog died. Well, then their lawyer is going to argue that in court on sentencing if they are found guilty.
listen. All I'm trying to say is, so it's very sad to see a grown man being so upset, and especially somebody that is not well. I don't want it, nothing to be taken away that somebody was assaulted, and we get all mixed, and this gentleman get his day in court, and whatever, if these people and them hurt him, then they have to suffer the consequences. That's what I'm saying. Let us give them the time because let us do things so people will see that we does things in the proper way. They was arrested, they was charged, and then they're going to be brought into court, and we expect that our system to do it the proper way. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's all I'm saying as well.
Good.
That's my position on it too. I expect the system to work in the right way. But Miss McQueen, you sound a little bit sympathetic. Is it because they are
No,
dog owners
no,
too,
no, no. I'm not.
or is it because they live in the same highfalutin affluent community as you? Is it
No, 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 no,
because
no.
you is it
No,
because they're
no,
in
no.
a rich
I think the
neighbors?
general.
No, because you
No.
sounded so sympathetic a while
No,
ago.
no, no,
You
because
just
what
said, wow, let's not let's not even race.
I do not want people to think that when we do not treat people fairly, because we want to be treated fairly. And as I said, do you think when I see this man crying and somebody that couldn't stand and defend himself, it was very hurtful. It was very hurtful for me to see somebody and to see how upset his wife was. Because maybe if I was there, I would have taken it differently. But what I'm saying, they've been arrested now. Let the law take its course and let this man get, because we don't want anybody to say, oh, we didn't treat these people the right way. Let us show them how it is done. We're going to give them the time in court. We're not going to, it's been done, the right thing has been done. I don't want to take away anything that has been done to this poor man, especially somebody that couldn't defend himself.
Well, I am just really sorry that he was ill and it wasn't a big, strapping black man like them fellas up in Victoria who has pulled the net. And that would have been a real beat down, drag out fight. And they would have learned their lesson for thinking that they could beat up somebody instead of calling the police because they live in Fort Judy and because they're white. I believe that's why they behaved that way. That the reason why they were not fearful of breaking the law is because of that, and they may have gotten emotional because their dog died. I mean, I can see that happening. But at the end of the day, I see a lot of the time Grenadians are hurt both physically and psychologically by people who are foreigners, who are white, who are rich, and while sometimes they lie down and take it, it's not something that I would feel comfortable or even stay silent on. No, the matter is in the court, in the hands of the is now in the hands of the court. They will be tried, but we have to keep on talking about it because they can very well go to court, and this man does not get his day in court simply because of who they are. That deals are made in the back door. I remember when my matter came up a few years ago when two operatives of the Keith Mitchell administration and the New National Party attacked me and tried to kill me. I was sitting in the court when the lawyer went into the magistrate's office to make a deal. I was there, and they weren't afraid to go make a deal. Right there, Peter David went into the office with the magistrate, and they came out with a ready-made deal. And if I didn't stand up and protest, the deal would have gone through. So, whoever these people are, if they're just regular folks and there's nothing to lose, then it's gonna go normal. But if they're not regular folks and there's something to lose, some interests of the people in authority, then a deal is going to be made and somebody's going to get the short end of the stick. And in my experience, it's always those guys. It's always the guy who looks like me who gets the
What I'm
short
saying is that Ms. McQueen and Kalisha, something I'm saying, like, what was interesting to me and the question I asked myself, if let's say for instance, let's say for instance I was the one there and I take up my cutlass and I plan on some people and so on. And the police come there and that is the word on the street that happened. Wouldn't I be taken immediately and brought to the cell? So that was something that stood out for me in that they found the man beaten up, broken, battered and bruised, many witnesses who say that is what happened, and the individuals was not picked up for questioning or anything. You understand what I'm saying? So that
and
also
that should have happened. That should have happened. They should have because you know the police you have to wait on a report, an official complaint to lay charges. But that is different from you come and you see violence happening. You must take control of the situation, and part of taking control of the situation is to take these people into the police station and sort it out. And
yes. So for me,
the reason why they didn't take them to the police station to sort it out is either because they live in Fort Judy or because they're white. It's one or the other. It's either class or race.
yeah, so for me, and it's sad in our little country because even and the white collar crimes and so on is a issue worldwide, where those with the money who have the money are able to buy out officials, spend their way and use their clout and network to rise above the law, and that is an issue. While the average man clogging up the overpopulated Her Majesty's prison. So for me, like I was very disappointed in that in that point. I was happy to see Grenada people mobilize quickly, but also I want to see Grenada people mobilize for things not only protests, but for the momentum to be continued to working together as a united people to build the country, to educate ourselves and to work and build the country. Because there's a lot more things to get done in the country, and we cannot stop at just the one issues. And it's also sad that anytime you really want something to get done correctly and for people to do their jobs, you have to protest. It's kind of draining on my energy right now. It's like simple things like that supposed to be handled by the people who are in charge to do such things. So we
But
cannot
you see
have this
what
kind of thing happening on a small
like
island.
You know, I see
Alexis has just
Jennifer
said.
Alexis. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Go
said,
ahead.
people are in the receiving end of violence in Fort Judy all the time, but people we don't talk about it. So what I'm hoping is this case that everybody sees that we do it properly. As Kalisha said, we don't go and somebody getting the Grenadian getting the short end of the stick. I would like to see it is gone there properly. We have a proper trial, because and that will allow people to come forward. If it happens to someone else, people will say, something, this is what happened to these people. They went to court and they got they got justice. I wouldn't want to see, we going about it and everybody going crazy. And at the end of the day, the people does not get justice. And people with Grenada, we always like to use reference. People would say, oh, look at these people went up there and look at how bad this man was beaten up. And what happened at the end of it, all what was left, they left with a big bill to pay the lawyers. Because remember, the lawyers are not going to do it for them for free. They have some big bill to pay the lawyers, and nobody worrying about it. I would like to see it done properly. The people get their justice, and other people could come forward if things like that has been done to them.
Already it's not being done properly because they were not taken to the police station when the police came upon an incident with somebody bloody and beaten and the perpetrators right there, because they could have held them for 40. Legally, the police could have taken them in and held them for 48 hours, even without any evidence or any report at the time. So they could have done that and they didn't. Secondly, they are foreigners, which makes them a flight risk. So at the least, their travel documents should have been confiscated. They should have been brought to court and have the travel documents confiscated, or be held on remand at Her Majesty's prison. But none of this happened. So already we see a lineup of things that shows some sort of favoritism. And of course, that sort of favoritism is afforded to even Grenadians too. It depends on your status, whether it's because of money or connections. and so on, that you are you get treated favorably. And it's a human condition. It happens everywhere. But when it happens here, we have to note it. We have to say, yes, this has happened and this ought not to happen, and try to stop it if we can. But them getting special treatment is nothing unusual. But we cannot just say, we can't let it pass. We have to note it and speak about it and put it on the record. Because already the police did not follow all of the procedures. They didn't bring them to court to answer the charge, and that level of harm that based on the information I have, that level of harm seems to be an indictable matter, and apparently they were charged in summary court as well. That this should have been a matter that would go to the High Court with a preliminary inquiry and then put into the assizes and so on. But right now they can get out of the country whenever they want because they have their passports and probably a yacht tax somewhere or whatever.
You didn't ask for all of that to be done when you was assaulted by the minister. You didn't ask for the High Court and whatever been given to the other people.
Who says I didn't ask for that?
Oh, did you get it?
No, I didn't get it. He
You
was
see,
charging. Well, yeah, but what the minister did was more the severity of what the minister did had to do with who did it and who he did it to. Okay, this was a government minister daring to push a journalist. No, while the doctor, and there again, and this is another example of the police playing favorites and doing whatever they want to do. Now, my lawyer is dealing with the civil action in this, which is what I have more interest in anyhow, because they're probably just going to charge him $200 or something, even if they do find him guilty. When the matter comes up in December, when it's been pushed to, the criminal trial is going to be in December. It came up a few days ago, but the minister did not show up, and it's been put to December. But they had papers from the doctor where the doctor said, causing harm, but he was not charged for harm. The director of public prosecutions apparently advised the police to just charge him for assault. So the charge there is assault. Even if because my injuries were not of a nature where there was blood or a cut or anything like that, you have varying degrees of harm under the law. And while he caused harm to me, and he should have been charged for harm as well, in summary court, it was just assault. The evidence would not have been sufficient to make it a causing harm of the magnitude or the level to have it in the High Court. But this man had great injuries to him as a result of what happened. And so the police should have, I believe, wasn't he bleeding and stuff like that? Didn't he have open wounds as a result? Right. That is a severe harm, right? That is a severe case of harm. And so that's why I'm saying that the matter should have been charged as an indictable matter. And I mean, on the travel documents, I couldn't ask for the minister's travel documents to be taken. He's a Grenadian, and it was not non-capital murder or manslaughter or something where the magistrate decided to give him bail, in which case the travel documents would have been confiscated. It's a case of assault. So the prosecution was not going, the minister was charged on paper, on a summons. He was, given a summons to come to court. He was not arrested, and so, and obviously he was treated with favoritism, as I expected. But at the end of the day, I made my point by making sure that the matter went into criminal court. But the situation with the physical injuries that the man sustained and what happened is the severity of the situation is not in terms of the injuries that were caused is not equal to what happened to me. Although my situation was major because a government minister decided to go all criminal and shove me down. So but I don't get your point though when you say that that I didn't ask for that. Good
No,
night, Bob I see Bob Marisho has come on. Bob Marisho knows everything about everything. He's an expert on absolutely everything from law to water management. You know, such a competent man who is an expert on medicine and law and agriculture and water management and everything you can think about. Good night, Bob. Yeah, you were saying, Miss McQueen?
I just want to see, our court is it a place that people can go for justice and get it. It doesn't matter whether the person that couldn't afford a lawyer or the person that could afford the best lawyer, we should all, when we go to court, we hope that justice will be served. That's what I would like to see happening
In a
now.
perfect world, yes, but we don't live in a perfect world. Ask Kitaka, he'll tell you. And Kitaka, that's all the time we have for tonight.
Yeah, we actually went over, but
Yeah, we
that's
haven't
okay.
gone over in a while.
I was learning a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Some comments coming in the on the chat. So yeah, also Bob, when it comes to my matter with the minister, I will speak about it in whatever terms I wish to speak about it, and I certainly did not speak about any specifics of the case that has to do with the gentleman who was assaulted in Fort Judy. But when it comes to my matter, I will speak about it any way I wish to speak about it. It happened to me. So thank you everybody for being on the program. Kitaka, Rolanda, as you pardon?
I say we people really like courthouse. You go in court, I'm going court. This one go Kitaka. When it's only Kitaka that not going court. Then
Well,
Yeah,
have you
that's
paid your, have
I'm
you paid your
protected. I'm
fine?
protected.
Have you paid your fine yet, Kitaka?
Kitaka is the only criminal on
Yeah, he's the only one that
actually
been
no.
charged.
Actually,
Uh,
I
Don't
have
go
been
there.
charged too.
Don't go
We
uh,
there.
won't
Don't go there.
we
Don't
won't
go
go
there.
there. We won't go there.
So have a good
Oh,
night,
by the
ladies.
way, by the way, before we go, Miss McQueen, your prime minister, your boyfriend prime minister was sounding very weak last night. He's under a
yes,
tremendous amount of pressure. He couldn't
yes,
string two
I saw him.
sentences together properly. He was you know but the words, he was messing up words, and he sounded so weak. I was very concerned about him and his health. I don't know if it's because of the pressure of managing a dying economy or whether it's something else, but he did not sound strong at all, as did the commissioner of police did not look strong today at all either. And the pressure, I see the pressure mounting on them. You need to make that Tanya log for your boyfriend. He sounded like he needed a good Tanya log.
I think I'll have to send him some Monkpure. Monkpure reaches the
Oh,
part of the water cannot reach.
yes, Monkpio fixes a lot. So
Yes, I'll have
a
to
care
do that.
pack, a care package of Tanya log and Monkpio. Yeah.
That's it.
So
So
thanks
lecture,
everybody for
you
viewing.
got some more children coming in.
Yeah.
That ship
Oh,
sailed from the Prime Minister Harbour so long. I don't know why they keep talking about that. Good night,
Yeah.
everybody.
Bye.